Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Rochelle from Rochelle.Handmade.Designs, and in this video we will be sewing our second top, which is the bralette. Now this is Simplicity 8549. This is view C, so I did line mine and you will see that in the video. So let's go ahead and get right on into the new video. All right everyone, so we are talking about the supplies that you will need in order to construct your bralette, which is Simplicity 8549. This is top series number 2, the second top in our pre-spring collection. So the items that you will need is, now I use rotary cutters, but you could definitely use scissors. I have a paper and a fabric rotary cutter. I never mix the two. I have some pins that I will be using. I have my marking tools. This is just a white marking, water-soluble marking pen. And of course my disappearing marker. I also have some scissors just in case I need to cut loose thread. Of course you will need your pattern, which I will be doing view C on this pattern. It's only like 6 pieces and probably about 6 pieces and 8 steps, I believe. Not very difficult to do this bralette whatsoever. And then you're going to need a tape measure. So you need to measure around your upper bust as well as your full bust. So that's all the supplies that you're going to need in order to construct this bralette. So let's go ahead and start sewing. All right, so let's talk about the pattern pieces you will need to construct your bralette. So you will need pattern piece number 11, which is your front. You need to cut 2 on the fold of fabric and 1 on the fold of interfacing. Now, I cut 1 of the fabric, main fabric, and 1 of my facing pieces because I wanted a different color on the inside of my bralette. However, you could do the same thing I'm doing, or you could do what the pattern pieces says. So I cut 1 of main fabric on the fold and then 1 of my facing fabric on the fold as well. Make sure that you interface the main fabric. Next pattern piece you will need is pattern piece number 9, which is your side back. You're going to cut 4 of fabric and 2 of interfacing, but what I did was I cut 2 of my main fabric, and then I cut 2 of my facing or lining fabric, whichever one you want to call it. And then also I interfaced 2, and I interfaced the main fabric only. The next pattern piece you're going to need is pattern piece number 7, which is the side front. You're going to cut 4 of fabric and cut 2 of interfacing. What I did was cut 2 of my main fabric and cut 2 of my facing fabric, and I interfaced only the 2 main fabric pieces. Next pattern piece you're going to need is pattern piece number 13, which is your front shoulder strap. You're going to cut 2 of your main fabric only. Next pattern piece you're going to need is pattern piece number 14, which is your back shoulder straps. You're going to cut 2 of your main fabric. And the last pattern piece you're going to need is pattern piece number 12, which is your back and tie end. You're going to cut 4 of your main fabric. Now, I did not want, because this is going to be tied, I do not want the facing to show, so therefore I only cut the entire piece, all 4 of them, in my main fabric. I did not cut 2 of my facing fabric and 2 of my main fabric. So just cut 4 of your main fabric for pattern piece number 12. Now that we have all the pieces, we can go ahead and start sewing. All right, so the first thing that I want you to do is go ahead and grab pattern piece number 11 and pattern piece number 7, which is your front and your side front. Now the facing pieces are the exact same sewing instructions. So the first thing I want you to do is with right sides together. Now, this is my main. So I'm going to pin this the exact same way. So what I'm going to do is with right sides together, I'm going to pin my side front pieces to my front pieces. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. And then I'm going to do the same thing for my facing pieces. So with right sides together, you want to pin the side front to the front, matching up your notches. And then you may have to make some clips right along this seam allowance just to make sure you pin at that notch, just to make sure that when you're sewing, it gives a little bit to where it fits onto your bodice. Now using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, you're going to back stitch at the beginning and at the end, and sew along the side seams, and then go ahead and press the seams. Okay, so now that I have my side front attached to my front, both sides, and then I did the same thing for my facing pieces, I'm going to put both of these aside, and I'm going to grab my back and tie ends, which is pattern piece number 12, and pattern piece number 9, which is my side back. So you're going to do the exact same thing to the facing pieces. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and attach pattern piece number 9. You're only going to need 2 of your ties at this point. So grab 2 of your ties, put the other 2 out the way because you're going to use that for your facing pieces. So I'm going to just grab 2 of them. And what you're going to do is with right sides together, you're going to take pattern piece number 9 and look for where the 2 notches are on this side, 2 notches. And with right sides together, you're going to pin the notches together. So I'm going to pin those 2 together, and then I'm going to look where my notches is, and I'm going to pin those 2 together. So this is where my other notch is. So I'm going to make sure that it's facing the right way. Make sure that they are facing the correct direction. Sewing machine using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Okay, so now I have the pattern piece number 12, which was the tie ends, the back tie end portion attached to the pattern piece number 9, which was the back. I did that for my main and my facing pieces as well. So this is my facing pieces where you see the blue, okay? So now I'm going to move the facing one out the way, and I'm going to grab my front and side front pieces. So with right sides together, I'm going to pin the back and the tie ends, right side together, to the side. I'm going to do that on both sides. So I'm going to pin both sides and make sure you matching up the notches. All right, now using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning and at the end, and do the facing pieces the exact same way and press your seams open. Okay, so now that I have the back and back tie ends attached to the side front pattern piece, so this is what it's looking like on the inside, and then on the right side, this is what it's looking like, okay? So I'm going to show you my facing pieces as well because it was supposed to be sewn the exact same way. So let me move the main pieces out of your way. And this is my facing piece. It's attached the exact same way as the main fabric. All right, so I'm going to move this out the way. Go ahead and grab pattern piece number 13. These 2 are my pattern piece number 13, and these 2 are my pattern piece number 14. Now, all you need to do is with right sides together, go ahead and fold it in half. And you're going to sew using 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. You're going to stitch across and then come down, leaving the ends with the dots open. Do not stitch that area right here where the dots are. Do not stitch that. Leave that open. So you're going to use 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, come across and down the length, across and down on both pattern piece number 14 and pattern piece number 13. Okay, so I went ahead and did my front straps. With right side together, I pinned it, sewed it together, and then turned them right side out and pressed them. I did that to my front and to my back. Now make sure that you are pinning pattern piece number 13, which is your front straps, to your front, and your back straps goes to the back. Now there is a dot right here on your back pattern piece, so make sure you do that as well. The same thing to your back and to your front. All right, so the next thing you want to do is pin your straps at the dots. There's a dot there, and you're going to baste across. Just slightly baste across using probably about 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Baste across. Okay, so now I went ahead and basted my straps, my front strap and my back straps onto my bralette. So go ahead and grab your facing piece. Now, one thing I want to mention about the facing piece is that I left an opening on the side right here for me to turn it right side out. So if you did not do that, open out one side so you're able to turn it right side out. So it looks like mine may not be big enough, but I don't want the entire seam open, so I'm just going to do a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is with right sides together, pin all the way around, including your ties. So you're going to pin all the way around your bralette. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is with right sides together, you want to pin your facing to your main fabric. Make sure you tuck your straps in, but make sure that it's loose enough to where your straps are not caught into your seam allowance. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that this hole right here, this opening, you can reach in and pull all the straps and everything through to give it a clean finish, and then you're going to slip stitch that close. So make sure you have one side of your back left open in order to pull it through. So what you're going to do is starting at one end, sewing 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. You're going to back stitch at the beginning and at the end, and you're going to sew all the way down the back and tie belt, across the back, across the side, front, and the front. Come back around to the side, front, and the back of the other side. Come all the way around and do the bottom as well. And then once you completely sew all the way across using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, you're going to go to the opening and pull everything out to turn it right side out, and then give it a good press. Go ahead and do that. Okay, so now I have finished stitching all the way around my bralette. So I'm going to go ahead and reach in right here, and I'm going to pull everything right side out. And now you want to go to your sewing machine and give everything a good press. So go ahead and give it a good press. Okay, so I went ahead and stitched all the way around my bralette. I turned it right side out. I pressed it, and I left this opening. I pulled it through the opening and then turned it out and pressed it. So this little opening right here, I'm going to hand sew and slip stitch this closed. You can do it on the machines with the right sides together and just make a little stitch right there, but I'm going to hand sew it because I want it to have a nice clean finish. So I'll finish that up. So what you can do is go ahead and tie your straps and try it on, see where you want your fit to be. But this is the finished bralette, my finished bralette. All right, so you are all done with your top series. This is top series number 2, the bralette. I use Simplicity 8549. So like, comment, and subscribe, and until next time.